What's up, everyone, and welcome back to episode 19 of the reunion of Final Fantasy VII Remake podcast. I am your host, Ky, and joining me again today is my incredible co-host, Vyzz. How are you doing, Vyzz?
Generally fine. Although I feel a bit overwhelmed lately with all the stuff that's going on in my life, in the world, with the channel and other stuff I kind of want to do but don't really have the time for, but it's going okay. It's nothing really bad or anything. How about you?
Yeah, same with me. Just dealing with life, stuff happening, and also the same, just being like feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything going on and trying to find time to, put into the podcast and all the other projects that I have going on right now. It's been pretty tough, but I'm so happy that we did find time to sit down and chat today.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, about the boss battles in part 2 of the remake. So before we get started on that conversation, I just wanted to ask, how are things going over at Cosmo Canyon Observatory?
All right, so last Monday we released the first of 3 videos about Aerith's secrets, which is, we had to split it up because it would have been like a 2-hour video in total, and that is just from the production standpoint too much, so we split it up. Although we will release a full version once all 3 are out, and the second one is now in editing phase, so it hopefully won't be too long until that one's out. I'll just try to truck along, but not overwhelm myself. That's the state of things.
That is the key, isn't it?
That's the key, yeah.
So a lot of people have been asking us the best way to support us here at the podcast. So the best way to support us here is to like, sub, and share the podcast. It's free, and it's the absolute best way to support us here. So today's episode, we will be talking about boss battles in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. We will be discussing what Final Fantasy VII OG bosses we may see and how boss battles may play out in the next part. What Final Fantasy VII OG enemies may be turned into boss battles, speculations for all new bosses in the next part, and also which enemies we actually want to see as boss battles in the next part. So I'm going to let you start off, Vyzz. So we are talking about Final Fantasy VII OG boss battles that we may see in part 2.
All right. So you also wrote something about Midgar Zolom, or Midgar Zolom, however they want to call it in the remake when it drops eventually. Do you want to start off with some speculations? Because you wrote quite a bit in here.
I did. So in the original, we know that it's, there was a trick where you were actually able to avoid battling the Midgar Zolom. I was thinking that I don't think that is going to be able to happen in part 2. I think it's going to be a mandatory boss battle. Maybe like you had written that it's kind of like you fail the first time, or where it just completely incapacitates your party because they're so like low level at that point. And then you have to eventually like come back and defeat him again, or like at a different time or something like that, maybe throughout that area, the marshes. And I was just kind of thinking, like asking myself, will the battle play out like it did in the original? So he used to be able to eject party members from the fight. You were unable to flee. Obviously, the flee mechanic in the remake, like there wasn't really a flee mechanic because it wasn't like the battle system isn't built the same way, right? Like before, it was like you would it was random encounters, and then you were able to flee if you felt like at some point in the battle you weren't able to actually defeat the enemy, you could flee. So obviously I don't see them having that in there. And in the original, there was a save exploit. So what you could do is like you would save the game right at this specific spot, and then when you would stop and reload the game, it was like the Midgar Zolom was in a different part of the water in the marsh, so you could actually just walk across it without even like doing the battle. I thought it would be cool if they could just like have some kind of a reference to that. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like a super meta just reference in the party just talking to one another, and then they just make some comment that kind of brings it back to something like that happening. I think that would be really cool.
Maybe, yeah. What's also possible, I mean, in the original, is that if you time it exactly right and walk across the swamp the shortest
Yes.
distance, you can actually just run across without it catching you. But you really have to time it right and know when it's hard. I tried it. I did it once, but it's not easy because you're meant to catch a chocobo and run across it with the chocobo because it's much faster. And I think this will be the same in the remake. You have to go to Chocobo Ranch and get a chocobo, or get the means to catch a chocobo and then run across, something like that. Because when you just go in there without any preparation, it will probably just appear out of nowhere at some point, and you probably just have to run away, because if you don't, it will just decimate you. That's how I imagine it. Unless you grind like crazy, maybe it won't really be possible, depending on how they scale levels and experience points and the experience curve. I don't know. Might be different. So I do hope that it's not possible to kill it there, because it would diminish the effect the Midgar Zolom on the spike on the huge tree has. Yeah, Sephiroth just could impale it, and you had to flee. So
yeah,
that's my hope, because if you can just grind it and then use kind of cheap exploits to kill it, it's not the same.
Yeah, I was reading stories online. Well, it was the comment section, because I actually had YouTube the video because I just wanted to be refreshed on this boss battle, and people did not even know that they could like skip, like there was kind of an exploit, like a save exploit, and they also didn't know that they could just walk across. So people, they were doing was like they just grinded and grinded and grinded to the point where they could actually defeat him.
I did that too once.
Like early in the game, and I was like, oh my god, they didn't even know, and they were like, oh my god, I can't believe like that I could have done that. And also there was one person who actually had enemy skill materia, so they actually got beta, the enemy skill from the Midgar Zolom, and then they defeated him, and then they used that for the rest of the game, and the game was just like super easy because everything else just like melts to that ability. I think that I just walked across randomly when I played it, and it was just like, it must have been just the perfect time, because I literally just walked across and then didn't even encounter it.
Yeah, it's possible.
When I played
We're
it.
lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, and then underneath that, I put CMD Grandhorn.
Right, that's in Fort Condor, right after the mines, yeah.
Yeah. And then I had that you could actually go to Fort Condor. You could skip or purposefully lose the minigame just to do this mini boss battle. I said in the OG, the first battle actually dropped a weapon for Red 13, which is Magic Comb. We know that his weapons are changed now, since they don't really make sense. They went with a collar, right? That's what holds his materia. So I see them changing that around, but it would be interesting for them to kind of have us, like, I see them changing this. I see them potentially just going there, and then that would be the boss battle that you have to do early on, like you don't have to stay and do the mini game a bunch of times to get the tiered like difficulty levels and just to keep going and going. I see that happening later when you return, and then you could be able to do that for some reason. I just see them focusing on doing things that kind of like push the story forward first. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if they should make Fort Condor mandatory, because if Yuffie's mandatory and if we get her before Junon, it could very well tie in with her story, because Shinra is attacking Fort Condor. They have to defeat it. They defend themselves against Shinra, and this matches Yuffie's motivation, because she doesn't just want the materia. She also wants to kind of thrash Shinra's plans if she can, of
Yes.
course. That's also why she goes with the party, besides wanting their
Mhm.
materia, because
Yeah.
she saw them using them in the battle. Um, I'm pretty sure this could be a great opportunity to introduce her after we get her
Mhm.
to get her to know a little bit
Right.
better with her conflict
That makes
with Shinra.
sense.
Maybe she says something about Wutai, or maybe Fort Condor has ties to Wutai, or know about Wutai, the Wutai War, something like that. I don't know. They could just tie this a little bit together. So
Yeah.
I kind of have a feeling that this will be mandatory.
Right.
Commander Grandhorn could be just a mandatory boss. That's just a story boss, instead of just a normal encounter, kind of, which you only get when you lose the minigame. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's what I was just about to say, was that they could change this so that potentially that's the boss when you have to go to Fort Condor in the story. You know, when it makes sense for the story, because in the story they needed to go there to get the huge materia, right? Like in the
mm,
original, and they could just make it so you can't go there right away if you wanted to. Like in the original, you could go there right away. You could just go and like just to do this boss battle, like I had already said, or you don't even need to go there till the story progresses, and then it's like, okay, now we have to go because we need the huge materia. Maybe they just skip it so you can't go there until it actually makes sense in the story.
that's also
And
a
then they
possibility.
have
Yeah.
the mini game.
Mm,
Like then they have the mini game, so you're not just there and you're like, what's going on? Like why? What does it have to do with anything? You know?
mm. It is possible. It depends how they gonna integrate it into the story this early on, before we go to Junon. Like that's why
Exactly.
I talked about the link to Yuffie and the conflict with
Mm-hmm.
Shinra, and maybe
That makes sense.
mesh this a little bit better together with their conquest of the world, and with the Wutai War, which they want to reignite. And Fort Condor
Mm-hmm.
could be like a strategic middle point or something like that. I don't know. It's just some
That makes
brainstorming, but
sense.
I can see this. And then maybe when we have the tiny Bronco, we could go back and do some additional optional stuff, maybe. Or if not, then just in the last part, in the last game, when we're uh, on our quest to get the huge materia. That's
Mm-hmm.
This must be in. If they skip this, I'll be angry.
It's so interesting too because you said it was Commander Grandhorn and I never ever called it that. I just always called it CMD. I don't know why.
CMD.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, you know, how people it's like with Mako,
Right, yeah, yeah.
right? Like I always pronounced it Mako, but until I actually heard the pronunciation online, I looked it up
Mm.
and then I had to like constantly change the way that I said it.
Yeah, it's pronunciation when you don't hear how it's pronounced. It's
Exactly, because there's no voice acting,
yeah,
right? So we were just left to kind of figure it out on
yeah,
our
sure. And
own.
then
So,
you pronounce it like you think it's makes the
mhm.
most sense. Mostly it's wrong, like Titus and Titus.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so after that, I did say Yuffie. I said, I guess it is a boss battle, right? But I said
Kind
that
of, yeah.
kind of, yeah. Like I see it being kind of like they keep the phase, like the boss battle phases in, like how when you're fighting Reno in the remake,
Oh, for
how
sure, yeah,
it's
could be,
it's
yeah.
you know how it changes to different phases, like okay, now he has these electrical balls that kind of connect
Mm,
together and then you have to kind of dodge them and understand that now you have to destroy those first or not at all. You know what I mean? Like you can take your own
yeah,
approach, your
exactly.
own strategy
Mhm.
to approach that boss battle. I would like to see that. I would like to see it more, just more fleshed out, maybe a longer boss battle. Yeah, with Yuffie, just maybe she's like stealing your materia like as you're battling or something, and maybe she grabs you and I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not sure if I should Yeah, I classify her as a boss battle in the remake when we challenge her or she challenges us.
Mm-hmm.
It also
Yes.
depends how she's introduced. If she's like, we've talked about this in a previous episode, that people talked about or also theorized that it's possible that our party gets robbed in Calm. That's why we don't have our gear
Yes.
anymore, and that's how we get reset.
Exactly.
And then we
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of chase her, and we see maybe wanted posters all around because she stole other stuff. And then finally we get to her. Then it's us challenging her and want our stuff back. In the original, she just ambushed us and want
Exactly.
to steal our materia. That's different.
Mm-hmm.
They could just go the same route as in the original. She's just there in the woods outside of Junon, which we probably have to go through this time. Like, because it's not a world map anymore. It's more like, I hope, a zoned approach, as we talked about earlier or in previous episodes. Then it's easy to funnel us through a certain area where she ambushes us, and we have to fight her.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a full-fledged boss fight like Reno with 2 phases, and if we beat her, then
that would be
then
cool.
it just goes to this field in the original where we had to talk to her, and if we choose the right answers, then she joins us. Exactly. But since it's 99% mandatory, I think it will be a little bit different. It could be just like a mini boss, kind of like the first sweeper battle. It's a bigger battle. It's more severe, and we have to employ different strategy, but still not like a full-fledged phased boss battle where we can lose. Kind of. That's why where I'm not quite sure what's the best approach, but yeah, I think the developer know what to do with her.
Exactly.
Yeah, and within the battle, hard to say. She'll probably just be very quick and maybe jump up on a tree and then throw her shuriken at us and stuff. And we have to dodge, or
that would be cool.
Just like a nimble, quick, small Yuffie. It's hard to hit, and maybe a throwback to the how they're called again, the shock troopers and the elite shock troopers who tend to evade your attacks. She'll probably do that too with cartwheels and stuff. I don't know.
That would be cool. I would like that. And the jumping in the tree, that would be cool. And then if there were trees there, then you could they improve the aerial combat, so it's kind of like a way to show the new improved like aerial combat.
Maybe, yeah.
Fingers crossed, that they end up improving it in this next part.
Or when Yuffie's up on the tree, you just can't reach her. She's really out of reach, and you can only use magic attacks if she's...
Yeah, exactly. That could work too.
If she's like in range, maybe she's completely gone, and you just have to listen to where it rustles, and then evade her attacks, and then she maybe jumps down again. I don't know. Just weird, funny ideas. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
Now, the next one, I think, is Bottomswell. Boss battle in the original. This one I'm not quite sure. I've written down a few things. So it could be that it's switching between like being close to the ground and floating above, kind of like Leviathan. It could be kind of a discount Leviathan battle, or just not really discount, but kind of different, but still the same idea.
Right.
With the range. And maybe just disappear into the water again and then come out. Stuff like that.
That would be cool.
Which forces you to go between magic attacks, long-ranged and short-range attacks.
It's kind of like how they had the Airbuster as well, right?
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
Where he kind of flew away.
True, yeah, true.
And then flew close up, and then you had to like use strategy to like use magic attacks when he
or
was
Barrett.
like flying away or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll be like they'll borrow aspects of the different like that boss battle,
possibly, yeah,
and others as well, like you said, the Leviathan battle, and
then you stagger it and it drops down to the ground, and then you can pummel it like hell.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And the water polo needs to come back. which is kind of like the pyramids from Reno in the remake,
Yes.
which just keeps you in place. You can do anything, but it also drains your HP, and you can only hurt it with magic and not physical attacks. At least that's how it was in the
Right.
original. I hope this comes back. This would be kind of irritating, I guess. Yeah. But since we probably will have Yuffie by then, we have 3 ranged fighters, because Aerith is also ranged fighter now.
Yes. Yes.
So it seems like it's impossible to not have a ranged fighter in the battle against Bottomswell, which would be nice.
Yeah.
No, it's possible. Cloud, Tifa, and Red. Crap. It is possible, yeah. So if you choose
If they're using magic attacks.
Yeah, true. But it's annoying. And I know this because I battled Leviathan with Barrett's close range weapon and also the Valkyrie in chapter 15. This was so annoying. It's not fun. No, but it's my own fault. So.
Are you talking about his melee?
Yeah, melee,
weapon?
the wrecking ball.
I use that a lot. I just loved just clobbering the enemies with that weapon. I liked it a lot, even though it was probably not the best use for my time, you know what I mean? And also he's so slow, and
yeah.
But I just loved it. I don't know why.
I loved it against the behemoth in the laboratory. This was pretty cool because the behemoth didn't zoom around a lot, so it was kind of easy to land hits with Barrett, and he hits like a truck with that.
Yeah. How many times though did I use one of his ability, like the weapon ability for that? I forget what it's called now.
Smackdown is the one. The other one I forget.
Yeah. He charges, or he charges up, and then he like goes towards them, but like they had already jumped out of the way. So I wasted an ability and an ATB charge for that, and it didn't even hit anybody.
Yeah, that's irritating. That's true.
But that's my own fault because I should have been using a better weapon. But
definitely.
Anyway.
Definitely. And regarding phases, because every boss battle will have at least 3 phases, I guess. Well, not everyone, because the Turks had 2 phases, Root and Reno, respectively.
Right.
And I think when we battled them both, they had like 4 phases or something. Reno alone, the Chopper, Reno and the Chopper, and then Reno and Root. There was 4 phases. True.
Yeah.
But here, Bottomswell, with most bosses, I kinda landed on 3 stages, because it's sometimes kind of hard to come up with 4 stages without actually sitting down and designing the boss battles. So I imagine it will be closer, using its body blow attacks and maybe close range attacks, and we can also use close range attacks. And then it might move around a lot, like the last phase in Airbuster, or one of the phases in the Leviathan battle, where he's floating up high. Then we need to use ranged attacks, and Bottomswell also will use ranged attacks and AoE, like the Tail Whip or something, or Tail Strike and the Moon Strike. Those are attacks from the original. Maybe the 3rd stage is even always out of range, and we have to stagger it to bring him down. And it then uses Big Wave, which it needs to be away from the ground to not get hit, like Absu did this time. It jumped up to the railing and unleashed the sewer water, I think it's called.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't get hit like in the original. It constantly gets hit, sometimes even double the damage, because it came from behind. It was pretty funny. So yeah, they're a bit more intelligent in the remake, I guess. Dyne is next, I think, because Dyne is the next boss battle, because there's none in Costa del Sol, none on the train tracks, none on the way to North Corral. Yeah, that's the next one. So this pretty long passage without any boss battle. That's interesting.
I really loved the Bottomswell boss battle in the original, and the set that it uses with the water.
Oh yeah, the set was cool.
Just like the so beautiful, and also Priscilla and the dolphin is
Mhm.
just ridiculous, you know? And I
Oh!
just rewatched the boss
Yeah.
battle, and she runs towards
Yeah, it
she
runs
runs
towards him, yeah.
towards Mr.
Mhm.
Dolphin and then, like, gets hurt
Yeah,
by Bottomswell and then falls down, and then at the end, you have to give her CPR,
exactly.
and then it's just it's super interesting. It's
Hmm.
silly but it's serious though
It
too,
is,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like I felt bad that she got hurt and then I'm like terrible at giving her CPR. I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, she's going to
Yeah.
die. She's going to die.
Oh
Oh
boy, yeah.
no."
I just thought of something because Priscilla is underwater during this time, and maybe
Mhm.
Bottomswell goes on a timer. Like we only have 5 minutes to beat him or something. This
Mhm.
would create a whole other situation there. Kind of like
Even like the background when they have you can see like the
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 ma-
the
yeah, the
scaffolding,
scaffolding, the
right? Where you
mast,
had
yeah,
to
yeah.
like it could be that like the big wave attack like makes that kind of like shake or something,
Mhm.
and then pieces of the scaffolding fall, and then you have to kind of dodge those or they'll do damage to you and then hide behind it.
Or
Kind
something,
of
yeah.
like how they did with the Scorpion Sentinel where you had to hide behind, so that could kind
For
of play
instance,
in
yeah.
here as well, but
Or even kind of you try to mash it against this scaffolding because everything is under
yeah, that's
electricity
true.
to hurt it.
That's true.
Like
That's true.
kind of
Yeah.
more gadgets or more how do you call this? Like more features in boss battles, not just attacking and dodging and evading and
Yeah,
blocking
like
and stuff.
they call that environmental
Yeah,
attacks,
or
right? Like
hazards.
if you
Yeah,
know part of that, yeah, like part of the environment, you could use it to your advantage. So you can, if you attack it against that, then it'll be electrocuted,
yeah, exactly.
But if you don't have to do that if you don't want to,
Mm,
but it just adds another layer to the boss battles, which
maybe, yeah.
I'm all for. I love that. I love that idea.
Or maybe even Mr. Dolphin will from time to time jump out and hit it. This would be
Yeah,
also
that would
pretty
be
cool.
so cool.
Or you can just like you spend an ATB to give Mr. Dolphin a command to attack it, like with summons, but during the whole battle. His
Yeah,
attack is already
exactly.
there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or he heals you or does
or
something.
something, yeah. Or maybe we have to kind of keep Bottomswell at bay so that Mr. Dolphin can shove Priscilla towards the shore or something like that.
Right?
Kind of, that would be a
Mm-hmm.
bit harder to implement, but probably possible. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this battle, definitely.
Same, same. I think it'll be a highlight. And after that, when you defeat Bottomswell, you have to use Mr. Dolphin to get up
Yep.
on the scaffolding. The scaffolding. Oh my gosh, it was so. I hope they fixed that part because it was so
It was
annoying. You
annoying,
just
yeah.
had to get it at that perfect angle, like the perfect
Mm,
to like timing to get up there. And yeah, it was really frustrating. So
definitely. Or just press X twice and don't move at all, and you're good.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
Or
so
yeah, it's just you
weird
don't need
design,
to.
yeah.
It's just like a cut time event where you just like press triangle or something and then you're there. Like you don't need to
Or something like that,
constantly
yeah.
do it over and
Yeah.
over.
All right, let's jump to Dyne.
Hmm.
This one will be interesting because it's a duel, not a 3 or 2 versus 1.
Exactly.
It's a duel. Like Cloud versus Reno, which would be pretty
Yeah.
interesting. So Dyne might even use grabbing techniques like the Grungy Bandit, kind
Hmm.
of tackle or just grab and meteor dive towards the ground or something like that. Although with a gun arm, maybe not. I don't know. Hard to say.
Right.
Um, Also, the behavior and attacks will probably greatly vary between phases. In the original, he had a few attacks, which kind of just, I think he switched between or depended on the maximum HP, I think. There was the Molotov cocktail, the S mine. I think the S mine might even be he like drops a mine somewhere and then Barrett just has to avoid this. Or maybe even try
Hmm.
to um, kick or shove Dyne into his own mine or something. Would be pretty cool. I don't have that much more
Yeah.
ideas.
I think they have to differentiate the two characters.
Mm.
So I think that they should maybe change the type of gun that he has, or just give it different abilities, like it's got homing missiles, or it's
Lasers.
got lasers, and also, like you said, the mine. Maybe the mine is, maybe it's a flying mine.
Or even flying, yeah.
You
Even
know what I
worse,
mean?
yeah.
Like he can just shoot them out and they fly around and shoot you, or shoot missiles at you while they're flying around, and you have to kind of like Reno with the electrical balls,
Exactly, yeah.
where you just have to like get rid of those first, and then, or you don't have to, you know, you could just dodge and focus on attacking Dyne.
Mm,
I think there's a lot of things that they could do to this boss battle
definitely.
and improve it, you know,
Yes.
and just make it fresh and feel more interesting, but also feel new, because we know what happens if you play the original, and I think that there's so many amazing things they could do with this, but also still keeping the banter between them
Yeah.
while they're attacking each other is going to be so amazing, because you're going to get so much story
Was about to say
as
that too,
well,
yeah.
I think.
Oh,
Which
certainly.
they could just, with cutscenes, even to differentiate the different phases of the
Yes.
boss battle. Like with Reno, you know, I know we're comparing it a lot to the Reno boss battle, but it is a solo boss battle between just Cloud and Reno, and there are cutscenes. It's not really a cutscene, it's just more like
It is, though.
they
A short
just,
cutscene, yeah.
but in between while they're fighting, and they're just really sassy to one another.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cloud and Rufus, it's kind of the same, just with different
Yes.
attacks and different strategy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just with Dyne, it's much more serious this time, not just banter.
Exactly. It's serious. Yeah.
Like that, Barrett tries to make him stop us and stuff, but Dyne just doesn't want to stop and just keeps attacking, and yeah, will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And next one is Nattak, I think you call it. I have no idea how to pronounce it.
That's what I've been calling it. Yeah.
So my ideas will be, if you remember the ghoul, it's also an undead ghost, and here Nattak is also a ghost, so he could phase out between physical and magical immunities and attacks, kind of similar to that. But the interesting like feature in this battle would be the flames. So the flames could possess a character and then gradually deal flame damage or heat damage. This could be quite interesting here, because I don't think there was a possession thing going on in any of the boss battles. At least I don't remember. Like when something happens and a character is possessed by something.
Right. You mean any of the other boss battles?
In part 1, yeah, I don't think we had that yet. This experience by
I don't think so.
With the character being possessed. This could be a first. And also to use ice attacks on the flames could maybe temporarily freeze them and keep them from possessing characters. Or maybe even cast ice on a character and then it immediately expels the flames or something like that.
Right.
And I could also see Nattak summoning more of his lesser servants, the ones we fight throughout the cave. To maybe in a second or even third phase or fourth, to maybe change things up a little bit. And since curative works, I really hope we get X potions and stuff to just kick him out.
Yeah.
Although, since the HP will probably be above 9,000 or 10,000, maybe you need to use more.
Yeah.
We'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I like your idea with the soul flame, or soul fire, it was called, sorry. They spawn and then they control the party. And I do like that idea, and I think that they can take that. It's something new that we haven't experienced yet in the remake, and I think they could take that and expand on it. They could possess one of the party members and then use them to battle, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to fight against Tifa because Tifa's attacking you, you know, or they would use their abilities on you or something. In the original, you could just kill Nattak and then they died as well.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if they should change that or not, if maybe you could do either or, but in the original, if you didn't kill the Soulfires, you didn't get experience or XP or gil for
I don't think so,
for killing them. You didn't get it for if you killed Nattak just like focusing on him, which when I played it, I didn't even realize that he's susceptible to like curatives like Phoenix Down or
just
curing abilities or potions, whatever. I didn't know. So it was a hard boss battle for me when I was younger, trying to, and then when I was older, I replayed it. Then because the internet, obviously I searched on the internet and I was like, what? You could just throw a Phoenix Down and then it's just one hit kill, like just gone. I'm
Although
like,
Phoenix Down,
I wish I had known this.
Phoenix Down has a chance, I think only a 25% chance of even hitting. That's why you need the next potion. The next potion is in it.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What's crazy is honestly, it was the first time that I used a Phoenix Down and it was like a one-hit KO.
Oh yeah, then you were just lucky.
First time.
You got lucky.
And then I didn't even know that potions work on it because I didn't need to do that because I haven't ever done that. I've only ever used Phoenix Downs on it.
Yeah, the most interesting thing is that right next to the entrance of Nattak's lair, there's a chest with the next potion in it. So you can just use that one and it's dead.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I just see them expanding on this. I think that would be really cool where he potentially could disappear. So could potentially still attack you, but he's invulnerable or something, and you have to attack the Soulfire while he's invisible or something like that.
Oh yeah, and kill the Soulfire on one of them, and then he faces into reality again. It could work too, yeah.
Exactly, but then summons more ghouls or creatures, you know, to attack you with. And then also, like you said, mind controlling your party. That sounds really cool.
Or even when two party members are possessed, they don't even need to be kind of confused or actually controlled. But when two of them get close, that there's a shortage, like a short circuit with fire, then a huge fire or Fire gets cast on both or something like that. Or when you get close to the other fire, or it just periodically casts fire on you, just something like that. Complete fire frenzy.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I'm super looking forward to this one.
Oh, definitely.
A lot, actually, because it was a big...
Yeah.
It just was a big emotional moment, like with, learning everything about Red 13 and everything. And then it was just... I loved this boss.
And then I think the next one is Lost Number. It was an optional boss. It could still be optional.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. It all depends on how they incorporate Vincent this time. Like in what shape or form we will get him as a party member. This also kind of is dependent on whether they end part 2 at Nibelheim. Or somewhere within Nibelheim, whatever. We talked about this last time. Or if not, then it will be handled quite different, because if it's the last dungeon, the last area, then Lost Number could be part of this last dungeon, kind of like a second to last boss or something. Kind of the last normal boss until the last boss gauntlet appears. Whatever and wherever that will be. Probably in the reactor or the Nibelheim Mountains, Mount Nibel. Anyway, Lost Number is a hard cookie, definitely. Because it starts off with being half magic and half physical. If you keep attacking it with magical attacks, it will change to its full magical form and then be, I think, resistant against magic attacks, but vulnerable to physical attacks. So you have to use physical attacks, but if you use it enough times that it switches to his physical form, where he uses extremely powerful physical attacks and is resistant to physical attacks. But then you need to use magical attacks because those are, I think, double damage or something. And then he reverts back to the magical form and back and forth and back and forth. That's kind of the main mechanic of this boss. So I'm not sure if this one will be kind of a fluid phase change, like not phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but there are 3 different phases and it switches between depending on what you do. This would be also pretty interesting. Maybe it's just like this half-half creature, and if you like bring it down to, let's say, 60% health or something, then this whole thing starts with the physical magical change or something.
Right.
So it's
there's a lot they could do with this
definitely
enemy as a boss battle. It depends, like you said, on what they want to do or where the parts end.
Mhm.
Like we don't know, right?
yeah.
So they might not even include this. They might change it completely,
Maybe,
you know?
yeah.
But I think that it would be cool if they did include Lost Number, and I think the character design in the original was really cool.
It's cool, definitely. It could also, I could also see Lost Number if they remove him from there because it doesn't make sense for whatever reason. That this could be a mandatory boss battle in the arena in the Gold Saucer. Like maybe they change something either in the first visit or the second visit, because you do have to go through this special round for Dio to be entertained and give you the, what's it called, the keystone, ancient stone or something. I think it's keystone that he gives to you. And Lost Number could be his pet there for some reason. Like Hell House was Don Corneo's trump card.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I could see that happening too.
That makes sense.
And instead of Lost Number, we have to battle Odin when we open the save. Or something, I don't know. Because battling summons is a thing now.
Yes.
So I really hope for an interesting Odin battle. I didn't even include him in here. We should talk about it later in the third section here. All right. Then next one is Materia Keeper. Like just before we exit the Nibelheim Mountains. This was kind of an odd one, just being there and standing in your way, being a barrier to exiting this whole area. Didn't really make any sense lore-wise. It was just there. So I hope it makes a bit more sense that it's there. Maybe it's just its lair, kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of like the spiders in the G cave. But I think you have to battle 2 of them. So it's just there. Maybe you see some, maybe not even spider webs, but some sort of indication that there's a monster living there. And as soon as you get close, it just emerges, and you have to defend yourself because you're intruder. You're intruding its lair, its place of living. Because otherwise, I don't really think there could be a lore reason for it being there, other than just living there. And Shrine is a thing, and Shrine I hope, will be able to learn it again. And Shrine then needs to be like its ultimate attack in the last phase.
Right.
And it also cures itself in the original, and this could also be a thing maybe in a phase 2 or 3 or something, that it realizes that you're a bigger threat than it anticipated, and then it maybe crawls back into its base or crawls to the ceiling or something like that, out of range, and starts curing itself until then it gets back reinvigorated. All right, bind characters and lightning-based attacks. Yeah. Yes, it could be interesting for it to also cast normal lightning-based attacks, not just Shrine.
Yeah. Well, I had said later on that in the Pagoda, in Wutai, there's a bunch of, on each level you have to fight a boss, right? So you can learn Shrine from Godo.
True, yeah. All right. now, since we don't really know where part 2 ends, we'll just keep going until Meteor is summoned, because that's the latest point in time where part 2 can end. So we'll just go there. And next boss is Palmer. You also wrote down some stuff here. Palmer will be very interesting.
Yeah, I just want it to be silly and zany and crazy like in the original.
Yeah.
I just want it to be left in there. I don't want them to take that out because it's absolutely ridiculous.
It needs to be. Although what it also needs to have or change, it does. Palmer is physically just not fit for battle. He has his gun. He has his gun there, but against swords and fists and guns and collars and shurikens and whatnot, or even a megaphone, no, Palmer won't stand a chance. So he probably has some kind of force field, like latest Shinra invention from the
that'd be cool
weapon development division from Scarlet. So he kind of can ward off some damage or something.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end, maybe this device breaks and it doesn't have his armor, so to speak, anymore, and then he retreats and gets hit by a truck. I hope they kind of keep this in. It didn't make sense in the original because this truck was just there for comedic purposes, and then it wasn't there at all. So it should kind of, maybe the battle kind of shifts positions a little, and then when he runs away, then the Shinra truck that maybe brings Rufus there, or is part of Rufus's convoy, just rams into Palmer, who just runs blindly into the street or something, just to make it a bit more believable, but still silly as heck.
Maybe he just pulls out like a tea tumbler and makes a cup of tea and then drinks it and with a bunch of lard in it and makes him super powerful.
Or that, that could work as well. Yeah, Shinra Lord.
Exactly. It's just some kind of a like Mako tea or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go crazy with it, Square Enix.
Maybe
just
maybe even a jetpack.
That would be cool.
Because he is part of the space division, space exploration division or something.
Oh,
so
okay.
Having a rocket end on his back would just make sense.
That would be cool.
And different phases, depending on what mode his Mako gun is in.
Yeah.
Maybe to put it to phase 2 or level 2, and then he shoots better magic, and then overdrive mode where it shoots Ultima or something. No, probably not, but just something crazy.
Yeah, I hope he does get hit by a truck.
Yeah. This is,
or hit by something.
Yeah.
Maybe Roche just comes in and like hits him with his motorbike or whatever, his G-bike.
Something like that, yeah. Just as silly as possible.
Sorry, I didn't see you there, or something like that.
Oh,
like,
Palmer,
ridiculous.
Hi, friend, didn't see you there. Just want to say hi to my friend Cloud. Cloud, how's it going? Let's dance.
Oh my god. Yeah, man.
Yeah, Roche also needs to return in some fashion. Because otherwise it's just anticlimactic, just one stage for him to go crazy and then just nothing anymore.
Yeah. I put that at the bottom for speculations for
true,
new boss battles in part 2. I just wrote a little bit about Roche.
All right, and then, speaking of Wutai, there are 2 major boss battles. It's Raps.
Yep.
Maybe they'll call it a little bit different, because Apps was also mistranslation. So maybe Rapsu or Rapuzi, or I don't know. I don't really know.
That would be cool.
The mythological origins. I should have looked it up. Anyway, his main attack, or the main attack that's like his signature attack, is Arrow 3. I hope this will still be the case, like huge arrow attacks. And since we're battling at the cliff, it could also fly away out of range at times. So Yuffie has to use her shuriken or Barrett his gun. Bring him closer again, hopefully. And I sometimes wonder if they'll at some point will introduce actual cliffs where we during the battle, if we like run across a cliff or over a cliff, we actually fall down to a lower layer.
That would
And
be
then
cool.
maybe have to climb up again or something. But down there it's pretty bad, so we need to get up to be able to do anything or something. It's but it hasn't been a thing anywhere
For a
Yeah,
while.
you can't
Yeah.
just walk off ledges. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
So
The only time I've ever seen something like that where you like attack somebody and then it like pushes them into the next like area was in like fighting games a while ago
yeah,
where you
right.
could just
That's
like
yeah, yeah.
uppercut them and then they go like
Mm,
flying through like the floor of a building
yeah,
up to the
exactly.
next like fourth floor or something like that. I can't remember. I think it's Mortal Kombat and a few other games.
Dead or Alive as well.
I haven't seen anything like that in years,
Yeah.
like a long time.
Although I must say they kind of introduced something similar, albeit scripted, in the Sephiroth battle.
Yes, yes.
So
They could do something
yeah,
like that
maybe.
even.
But not that we can actually walk off cliffs. This would
No,
be different.
exactly.
It's not Kingdom Hearts after all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Raps has a high probability of being in the game because it's a boss battle at the Dachau statue, right? So it's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's yeah, that's going to be a big part. And Godo for sure. I
Yeah.
did write down as well in the Pagoda, they had Gorky and Shake and Chekhov and
Mhm.
other ones as well. So I was thinking that they could change the Pagoda to being a little bit more like the battle arena that we saw in part 1. And like, what do you think about
Maybe.
that?
A pagoda is traditionally actually like this leveled design. You have to beat level 1 enemies to
Yes.
actually be able to go to level 2, and then you have to beat the level 2 boss or enemy and to go to level 3. So the main concept will remain because this is part of culture, Japanese culture. I think it's pagoda is from Japan, or is it originally from China? I don't remember. Anyway, it's something that needs to be, so it's not really, it can't be like a fighting arena. But I also don't think that we'll battle those weird monsters, because I'm pretty sure they chose those recolored monster designs because they probably didn't have the time to actually model a battle mesh or battle version of those
Okay.
of those other human battles or human warriors. Because Yuffie, and you also need to remember the Yuffie's part was optional because they didn't have enough time to actually flesh everything out.
Yeah.
But they had more time to flesh out Yuffie than Vincent. So they still had to
Right.
cheat a little for Yuffie's part. That's why I think they all look like normal monsters, just recolored, which I found
I
strange.
just think that if Wutai is a bigger part of this game and you're going to be spending more time there, I just see them kind of designing it a little bit like Dawn's Battle Arena, where they have a menu. Okay, so now I'm going to choose to fight like boss level 1, but I have to fight boss level 1 before I unlock boss level 2. And then you do level 2. Granted, it might not be the same like enemy design or the same enemies even. They could borrow elements from these enemies and give them new names and remodel them, whatever. But I just see it being kind of like that, where and then you get rewards, you unlock, and then they have different types of battles. Like you have to battle it with Aerith, or you have like in part 1, they could expand on it and make it even more.
That's true, yeah.
Like interesting, that was my thought process. But if they don't do any of that and they scrap it and it's just part of the story where you have to go there, I just don't see them doing it like you said. I feel like it could be maybe just Godo is the boss that you do there, instead of keeping the rest in there where you have to go level by level. I think it's a great opportunity for them to do kind of like a battle arena type thing. To gain gil and XP and special items, maybe even weapons, abilities even.
I can definitely see that, yeah. But only after you go through it with the Yuffie, because Yuffie needs to do this for her own to prove herself. And afterwards, it's open to our, because
Yeah.
we saved Yuffie and Yuffie proved herself, then we're free to go up to Pagoda
Yeah.
ourselves, like
And then you can go.
cloud
Yeah,
version,
exactly.
an Aerith version, and we
Mhm.
get, as you said, maybe weapons, accessories, or cool items, whatever.
Or maybe you could get enemy skills from them.
Maybe,
I don't know
yeah,
if maybe
sure.
it'll allow you to replay bosses that
Mhm.
you've already encountered to get enemy skills from
That
them,
could
or
be very interesting because that's something I really like in games that do that, where you can like battle bosses again optionally at some VR
yeah.
stuff or some other crazy parallel universe thingy. I don't know. Just I've played games that do this where you
Well,
can.
in the original, in the remake part one, like for example, there were weapons. Like I never stole Aerith's weapon
Mhm.
from the
Eligor, yeah.
Eligor. I didn't even realize that I could do that. I forgot
Mhm.
about it, and then I read it online, and then I realized it after. But I had already finished all that. Like I was so
Yeah.
far, and I hadn't unlocked chapter select. But like, why do I have to? I know we're kind of going on a tangent. We'll bring it back in a sec. But why do we have to? Why do I have to replay that in chapter select and then get to that point to be able to do
Mm,
that again? Like it would be so much better if there was like you said, like it was just okay, I can just spawn that boss in this battle arena and then defeat it, but also steal it from them so I don't have to replay that chapter
mm.
again,
Uh,
beginning to end.
Final Fantasy X did something like that where it could where was it in the I think it was in the I think there were certain like terminals where you could
Yeah.
choose to battle enemies that were in the area to learn how they work, but you didn't get any rewards from that, and not no
Yeah.
exp, no gil, no nothing. And I think you were also healed afterwards. You can just try it out. Kind of similar to this, but when you like steal stuff or learn something, this will take over to the real game um, continuum, so to speak, or canon.
Yeah. There's been other games that I've played as well where sorry, when you if you miss something, like it has a key item or a
Mm.
special thing that you've missed, like it's you can actually get it. It's like you have to go to this place. It's stored somewhere. I'm not sure what I can't remember what game I played. I don't know what game I played like that has this, but there's been times when it's like I thought I did everything that I was supposed to do. I thought I got every special item, but I didn't. But then there was certain times in the game throughout the story when you could open this chest and it had things that you had missed
Nice, yeah.
that I didn't know about that I didn't have to go back there and redo that whole section again to get those things. But that kind of could be the argument could be against that as well because it's like too
Yeah,
easy
that's
where you
true.
just don't care about getting those things or trying to steal
Mm.
items from enemies because you know that they're just going to be in that thing anyway. But it did help me. I can't remember what game I don't know if it was Borderlands or some other game that I played.
Mm.
Anyway.
There, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 also did this. In 7, you could dig up summon materia you missed, or I think other stuff, other materia. In I think it was on disc 3 or even before. I don't quite remember. You just need to get. Um,
Mhm.
no, I don't think you need to do anything. Just dig up, and when you didn't get Bahamut, Neo, Zero, whatever, or Phoenix or something like that, you could just dig those things up. Not everything.
Yeah.
It was limited, but a few things that could be missed, you can dig up again. And in 8, for those who didn't play it yet, maybe skip ahead a few 10 to 20 seconds. In Ultimisia's castle, there were 8 bosses, I think, and each boss had you were able to draw summons you didn't get
Right.
before if you didn't get them. You
Okay.
can draw it from them. So like Eden and what have you.
Yeah.
All
Cool.
right, spoiler over. Okay.
I like having some sort of
Yeah.
mechanic there.
The Pagoda could lend itself for that. Like when you go through with Cloud, Aerith, or whoever, you get to battle enemies you battled before, which possibly have stuff to steal you might have missed, or enemy skills you could have missed before. Like if you can't get to an area with a normal enemy, or you missed it at the boss, and this boss is there again, you can just get it there. This could be a really cool opportunity to do this, yeah.
I remember I was so upset because I thought that I got all the materia, but I forgot about the materia that's in the church in the
Oh,
remake.
yeah, right.
After you have to go back. I didn't think I was actually going to end up going back there, but this story does take you back. So I was like, oh, thank God. But I was so upset. I was like, I missed a materia and I completely forgot about it. And I think that it's gone forever.
Yeah.
I was so upset.
Definitely. Yeah. Getting stuff later when you miss a missable, I think it's crucial.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just, no, you missed it. You have to play the whole game again. Thanks, game. Yeah.
All right. So going back to the bosses. So you had something written about Godo.
Yeah, right. Godo. Where was it? Here. I think Godo could increase its AI from phase to phase because his feature was he had 4 phases. And each phase could do different things like physical attacks, magical attacks, healing and stuff. And I think it was kind of random, or depending on what Yuffie used, that it changed. And I think it could, maybe if it has 3 phases, the first phase switches only between 2 phases. And the third phase appears within phase 2. And the fourth and most lethal phase, I guess, comes into play in phase 3. This could be interesting because then it's the same mechanic, but gets like expanded upon with each phase, and Godo gets more opportunities to like switch between strategies and counter Yuffie's things. Like if Yuffie gets in a limit break, it can just change back to heal and heal itself, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about what what my brain came up with. So I think the next one is in the Temple of the Ancients, the Red Dragon. I don't think there's any other in between. Yeah, Red Dragon. It will be the second dragon because the first one is with Sephiroth in the flashback. Like, will be a small taste of a dragon fight. Oh, we also have dragons in Nibelheim. True. So the Red Dragon is just like a bigger version of that. I'm pretty sure it's because it's big and bulky. It will be rather slow moving, kind of like the Behemoth, slow moving and rather stationary. Maybe only occasionally like jump forward or charge forward, using claws and bites. And maybe if it jumps and lands or flies a few meters or something, it then drops down again and causing shock waves. And this might be the first phase, and second phase could be where it charges up its breath and then uses a huge AoE breath, like it's the cone-shaped breath, where you have to, if possible, run behind it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it also manages to fly around a little bit out of range, or maybe within range of aerial attacks, if they are actually being improved. I hope so. And then like fly across the battlefield and use its dragon breath to like decimate everything within its path, and you have to dodge the path. And if you're in there, it just burns you to a crisp.
Yeah.
This could be an interesting fight, but also interesting in terms of the constraint of the area because it's inside. It also could be quite big, like a tall and big area, because it looks quite large, this room there. So it could still be like feasible for this huge dragon to fly around. We'll see, I guess. Anything you want to add for the Red Dragon?
No.
Okay.
I just can't wait for a dragon battle.
Oh yeah, for sure. Dragon battles are awesome, usually.
I'm very excited for that, and just to see where they can take it, and there's so many amazing things they could do with this. And as you said, flying around, shooting like a dragon breath. It will be cool if it was on the ground and maybe did environmental effects, like where you were getting hurt, maybe over time.
Like the final attack of the behemoth, like it pounds on the ground and
Exactly.
rocks fall from the ceiling. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
All right, the next one, I hope they severely expand upon Demon's Gate. Because in other games like Final Fantasy 15, especially 12, they were pretty cool. Like actually a gate that charges you and shoves you around. So first phase, I guess, stationary. It lets rocks fall, swipes characters that are too close, and cast ailments like poison or what have you, or doom, or death sentence, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the second phase, it starts slowly just inching towards you and tries to trap you against the wall that's towards your back. And the longer you take, the less space you have. And if you take too long, it just flattens you and it's game over. So you have the second phase is on a timer, kind of. And then if you survive the second phase, the third phase is then determined, or the area you have at your disposal is determined by how quickly you could beat phase 2. So if you beat it quicker, you have more area, more space. And if you only beat it like by a few seconds, you have only small space, and it can like reach you with its claws anywhere you are. Something like that. And then magic attacks might come into play even. I really hope they're doing this fight justice.
Yeah, I love this boss design. I just think there's so much they could do with it.
Oh yeah.
To improve this boss battle.
Because in the original, it did have a charge attack, but it was just a normal attack. Like it's charged towards you, and it's just it damages all your characters, and it's done. It's not really like it. I'm not quite sure. Did it shove you to the back row or something? And I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I did look most of them up, like what they do with their attacks, but only briefly, so I don't remember everything. It has been a while since I beat those, and if I play, I usually beat them quite fast because I know what to do, so I don't really like get to experience all of their attacks and AI. All right, so again, I skipped Jenova for a bit later. So the next one is I think Schizo it's called. Like the double-headed dragon, and this could also be expanded on a little bit. It reminded me of the Hellhound in Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1, which had two heads, one with fire and one with this like phantom ghostly fire. And I think you could cast ice on it and then extinguish the red flame, so it couldn't use it anymore, and then use, I think, healing, because the other one was undead. Use healing on it, damage it, and then it loses the ghost breath, and I think then it's staggered or just something like that. I don't quite remember, but there was a mechanic about his two heads, and this could be the same. Like, attack one head with the ice head with fire until it's kind of staggered or incapacitated or something. Do this for the other as well. Then it's an automatic stagger because it has two incapacitated heads and can't do anything. Something like that. Or just to temporarily disable one of both attacks, and if it has both heads, it's able to use a certain attack that needs both heads, and if one head is incapacitated for a while, it can't use this devastating double-headed attack. But it will, of course, revive or like resuscitate the other head after a few, I don't know, maybe half a minute or something. It could be pretty cool, I think. And I hope it also uses its final attack, shock something. Don't quite remember. It was pretty strong AoE attack. Okay, then last thing is Jenova, and I put it together here, a birth, life, death, because they should be building upon each other. and are probably
Right.
similar in in mechanics. The first one, Dreamweaver, or how it's called in other languages, Jenova Pulse, had this mechanic with the portals and the tentacles mainly, and some other stuff, and it's like laser eye, and could stop you. I think the laser eye and the stop mechanic is also from Jenova Birth on the ship, so they kind of meshed this in already. So my thing is, it should be similar, like also 3 or even 4 phases. And with Jenova Birth being rather neutral, time-based, like casting slow, stop, and using its laser eyes again, or even some new attacks. Jenova Life should be water-based again, and Death is then mostly fire-based. Kind of similar to the original, but just think Jenova Pulse, but on steroids. Or Jenova Dreamweaver, how it's called. It's really hard to predict these because we already had a Jenova battle, and in the other ones, it could turn out to play out the same. Like we have the same Jenova battles, or maybe it's completely different and we don't have those Jenova battles anymore, and they change up something. I don't know. Yeah, anything could happen. The main chain of events will still be there, like it will be recognizable as Final Fantasy VII, like Kitase said, and I believe that. But they can still change small things completely around. Like we still go to Junon and sneak onto the cargo ship and go to Costa del Sol, but what exactly happens there, like in detail, could still differ greatly. So
yeah, I think these are going to end up changing, and they might be given different names.
Maybe.
I don't know why. I just feel like they're going to be changed a little bit to fit what they're trying to do with the series, right?
Although, if you think back, her real name in the remake in part 1 is Pulse. So Pulse comes before birth. Like you have the fetus has a pulse. It's not alive yet.
That's true.
So it's kind of like before it.
Right, that's true.
And a few people, myself included, theorized that it could be called like Jenova Conception or something.
Yeah.
So this would be even before Pulse. But it could be that they just retread Jenova battles and just try to introduce separate or new mechanics each time to keep it fresh, kind
of. Yeah.
So this means if they stop or end part 2 at Nibelheim, we will only have one Jenova battle, unless they introduce a second one at the end, like in Endgame.
Right.
And then 2 again, one in the middle of part 3, and at the end of part 3, where it ends at the Whirlwind Maze. So we have 2 games with Jenova battle in the middle and at the end.
Yeah.
And then the last one has just one at the end, like Jenova Synthesis.
Exactly.
Unless this whole endgame stuff with the Northern Cave will be completely changed, because the future is now different, and Sephiroth won't be able to do the same thing anymore, or we will able to like do different stuff, and it could completely change like the actual endgame from all, like the conclusion of all parts. So it's hard to say, but this is anyway out of scope of this podcast episode.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all good. So at the end of my list, I just put Gas Ductor. We already saw these kind of in the slums. I forget what they're called in part 1.
Oh, the smogger, I think.
Yeah, it's the same design, so I feel like they could include that. This is on the Dyne, on the Corral train, right? On the train. Wolfmeister, and I said this is a pretty long boss fight, but like I'm not sure if it's going to end up like it is in the original, how you have these boss battles in quick succession. They might end up spreading them out. They might only have one. We don't know. And I put Eagle Gun at the end, and that's it.
Those 3. These will be in part 3, or at least after Shunon execution, like as I said before,
Yeah.
the huge materia quest. So it's kind of also
Exactly.
out of scope. But to entertain this idea, we battle those on the train, like on those train cars, and it wouldn't make much sense to battle those huge monsters or big monsters on that with multiple characters. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense. So I'm pretty sure they'll completely rearrange this this event. Kind of, we can still fight those, but maybe we actually need to go into the reactor. Not just Sid runs in and comes out with the train, so we actually have to go into the reactor and to battle a few stuff, battle Gas Ductor, battle Wolfmeister. And then maybe the Eagle Gun could be when we're on the train. Because then...
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense
because the Eagle Gun is flying,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And so you could be on top and it could be flying around you outside of the train when you're on top of it.
Exactly.
Which would make sense.
Definitely.
So
I can see that, yeah. Gas Ductor, Wolfmeister in the reactor, and Eagle Gun on the train. Would make sense, because then we also have a battle on the train, then we defeat it, we have to take over, and Sid has to, like, try to make it stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going on to the next part, which is what Final Fantasy VII OG enemies may be bosses in part 2. So we talked a lot about the OG boss battles that we might see, like what we think might get added to part 2. So I'm not sure about this, so I just actually made a little list. So I'm just I think we should just read our list and not really go into any detail about it, because we still have more things to talk about as well. So I just put, so for example, Hell House in the remake was a boss battle in the arena. In the original, it's just like a regular enemy. So I think that we could potentially see some of these enemies being added to part 2 in the same like aspect, where it's in the Pagoda or it's in the Golden Saucer, whatever. So I just put Armored Golem. I said the Arc Dragon would be really cool. Arc Dragon was a Mithromine normal enemy, and it does have potential to be turned into a boss battle for sure. I put Two-Faced. Two-Faced was like a ridiculous enemy. So basically it was in the Corel prison, and in the OG it only attacks you if it's been attacked first, and there's a chance for it just to explode or heal your party.
True, yeah.
So I just think that there could be something that they could do with this, where I don't know, they could just add it and it would be absolutely ridiculous, which is what I want from this game, because the original is ridiculous and zany and weird, and that's what I want. Adamantimai. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's great. I want that.
Yeah, Adamantimai, something like that. Or the Adamantus, as it's called in Final Fantasy 15, I think.
Yeah. I put 8-Eye.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be absolutely ridiculous. And I know that you have him written in as well. Like Hectize. It's a series regular enemy, so I feel like this has more of a chance that it will become a mini boss battle, and there's so many different things that they could do with this enemy. And I was thinking like lasers coming out of its eyes, even like has some kind of a gaze where it like looks into your eyes and either like takes control of you, like mind control, kind of like the soul fire. So they can kind of reuse this mechanic if they put it in the game with the soul fire, but change it somehow. I'm not sure. Anyway, I thought that enemy, and it looks really disgusting.
Oh yeah, it is.
And cool, right? And obviously I put Bomb in there because Bomb for me it's just like such a Final Fantasy enemy for me. It like makes Final Fantasy feel like Final Fantasy. I don't know why, but it
That's
just
true.
Whenever there's bombs in there that and same thing with Cactar, like it makes me feel like I'm playing a Final Fantasy game. So I would like to see those included, and I put Deathclaw, and that's it.
Yeah. Deathclaw could be another boss in the prison, the desert prison, and the Two-Faced like a mini boss, like it's just a single occurrence, single battle, but not actually hard, but kind of weird and strange. And I could see that. Yeah. There's also the bull motor, but this could be a regular enemy down there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, then let's go through my list. Some of them I also have there. Let's just go through mini bosses, which ones I think are rather mini bosses, like not full-fledged bosses with faces, but also just singular enemies, or just like one occurrences, not multiple ones.
Exactly.
As you said, the Arc Dragon in the Mithril Mines, either tied to like a sub storyline in the Mithril Mines, or just yeah, if you defeat it, you have access to the treasure chest or something.
Yep.
Then Zemselet around Fort Condor in Junon. This is this huge owl-like creature, the one we can learn White Wind from, if you can manipulate it. This has potential to be a mini-boss also. Then the Cocatalis, which is this weird, how do we call this? It's kind of a huge bird, sort of.
Right. Yeah.
In the original, you have, if you're like towards the end of the railroad, before you like go to the reactor, there's a part where some little birds are chirping away, and there you can just climb up, and there's this little nest with small baby birds in there, and if you take the phoenix down there, you disrupt the nest, and the Cocatalis comes and then kicks your arse. So this one could be a mini boss too. It also appears on the train tracks itself, but they could just eject that from the normal enemies and use this as a mini boss there as an optional one. I hope they keep in this little side activity, I'd say. Then in the Coral Reactor, we have the Bagnadrana. This is the six-footed dinosaur, Plesiosaurus thing, like the one with the long neck. Kind of a weird, probably also like a mutation from the Mako, because it also appears there.
That'd be cool.
And yeah, maybe a mini boss, just like the Sweeper in Chapter 1. It's just there, like lurking around the reactor and something like that. Just like a strong and normal enemy. Then I mentioned the Stingers before in the G Cave, like the spiders. Those are kind of also two mini bosses in the original. Like they don't just appear; they only appear when you actually hit this or try to walk through a spider web. So this is kind of just 1-to-1. And in the Shinra Mansion in Nibelheim, there are so many weird enemies, but I think the Gyrofelgo, the one that's sitting, or that has like this guillotine scythe like blade as his lower torso, lower things. It's instead of legs. This one could be a cool mini boss, like kind of maybe even have a slight lore to it. I'd really like that. And then in Mount Nibel, you have the zoo, like this is the big bird. There's also another version on the shores somewhere else, I think. I don't remember where. I think in near Bone Village. This could also be like a separate, like a cutscene where the zoo appears and you have to battle it, but it's not a full-fledged boss battle. And as you said, the 8-eye, the Heck Die, needs to be special. I think it also appears only once, I think, when you fall off the hand of the clock hand towards in this pit. I think it immediately appears, I think, and then you can take out the nail bed, I think, out of the treasure chest there.
Yeah.
We also have Doorbell and Gymnesme, which are a little bit like bigger and more special enemies, which could also kind of represent unique battles. Gymnesme is like this weird otherworldly woman which can confuse your party members so that they attack each other. Doorbell is just this huge Minotaur-alike enemy. then further up in the Coral Valley, there's this weird, strange coral enemy called Acrophes, I think it's called, or pronounced. It's kind of a blend between corals and shells and this long neck snake dinosaur thing. It's so strange. This could, if this is just a normal enemy, multiple occurrence, it would be weird, I think. Should be a unique enemy. Then Snow in the Great Glacier, kind of the same as Chimnesme. Snow is, I think, a normal enemy there, but also kind of this mini boss where when you disturb or when you touch the hot springs, then go to this small cave with this old woman. And if you did disturb the hot springs, then you will have to fight this woman, which turns out to be Snow, and then you get Alexander if you beat her. I hope this is still in there. Now it gets really strange. The icicles. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Caves of Chaos Cliff. Like they're just there. They don't do anything. But you have to slay them so that they fall down and you can actually proceed. And I think you only have to defeat one of 4 to proceed. But if you defeat all 4 of them, then you have access to another treasure chest. So this is something they could still preserve, although those don't really need to be in a battle. You can just do this with like contextual actions when you're there. Kind of like cutting the chandelier in chapter 8. Just get close enough and you can cut it. This is also possible, instead of actually fighting them in a battle with the bats. Then the Marlborough, which we already had in the VR battle sim, like the hard mode battle sim. Yeah, it was also a normal enemy, like in Final Fantasy 15. You could encounter them at certain places, like multiple times. So it might also be a normal enemy, but it could also be a straight up mini boss, unique occurrence, which would also make learning Bad Breath like vital to actually do it there, not just grind around. Then later in the Whirlwind Maze, we have the Dragon Rider. I think it's a pretty rare enemy because I don't remember encountering it as many times. So this could be like a unique battle before we actually enter the whirlwinds, like those the winds we have to pass through when they're still, or kind of not as strong, or maybe in between. There are 3 winds or 3 layers of those whirlwinds, and between each could be another unique enemy, for example. Could also see that. I thought about the Gygus, which is this huge humanoid giant. I can also see this one being a mini boss, but yeah, we'll see about that. And there's also another very, very strange enemy, the Grand Gallon. Like this, how it's called? The nesting doll enemy.
Yeah. This
one is so strange. I don't think this belongs anywhere specific. So this could also be one of the new Battle Square enemies, unique Battle Square enemies that's not anywhere else.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, was that a lot of these enemies could end up as part of the Golden Saucer.
Definitely, yeah.
Like in the Battle Square, whatever they do with the Battle Square, if they revamp it or whatever we end up getting.
Yeah.
Because it just makes more sense, you know what I mean? Like it makes more sense to have them there than just having all the random enemies everywhere from the original, just in those areas when I think they're going to try to keep it more story-based.
I think so too. Part 2 will also be rather linear with more open areas, I hope. Like the areas which were on the world map beforehand, and now they're in bigger zones.
Exactly. Or for side quests as well, if we're talking
true.
to
Right, side quests.
like the general public,
Yeah.
like how, like you said, it was the smog or the, what was it called? The thing, it was that that I just said, it was called the gas ductor on top of the
just
train.
the smogger, yeah.
The smogger, it uses the same design, but like there's a side quest when you have to go and save the children from this thing, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So a lot of these could be saved for that. Like
that's also
side
true.
quests.
Yeah, side quest unique enemies. I'd like that. Yeah, especially the Grand Gallon. Maybe if you defeat the Grand Gallon, it's swallowed something from some NPC, and then you can get it back. Maybe some gem or what have you.
Or somebody's trapped inside of it.
Or even that, yeah.
You know?
Or actually a girl lost her doll within this nesting doll. This would be meta attack.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Alright, so I have my full bosses list here, which I think could be actual full bosses with multiple phases. There's the Hellrider VR2. This is kind of this weird red kinda horse, but not really. It's a strange thing, which this rider on top. It's also a very rare enemy, I think, in the original. This could be in the context of Fort Condor, maybe one of the enemies that are actually storming the fort. Like one of those in the minigame, because I don't think it will be the same type of minigame, but like much more expanded. Where we actually, I think we talked about this already, but I can see that being there, or being a boss like the Commander Grandhorn in a later part of the game, maybe optional returns to Fort Condor when we have Tiny Bronco, or when we need to get to the huge materia or something. Then in the desert we have the Harpy and the Landworm, which could potentially turn out to be real boss battles. Not just unique mini bosses, but actual ones. Landworm, you only encounter it if you actually go into the desert and get lost. Then you can battle it. I don't know if we're able to do that, or if we even need to go out there. Maybe there will be like side quests or stuff we need to do for the community there, because we're new there. It's a whole community, and we need to work there too, unless we're being incarcerated or beaten up or something. So we have to do what they say, like, oh, go procure this and that from the desert, and then we need to go out there, and then we have this Landworm boss battle.
That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
For side quests, or it's like it's more of a side quest where it might be a mission, or a story mission, but you can potentially not do it, I guess. But it could be where, oh well, this enemy that's, you know, it's attacking the village that's outside of Gold Saucer or something like that, and then you have to like destroy it, and then
for the Harpy, for example, because as soon as you have the buggy, you're still in the desert, and you need to like first drive out of the desert and then across the river to get to Gongaga. And since I think it will be kind of a FF15-esque vehicle, where you actually the buggy is not on the world map, but it's actually in there, in the zone, in the area. You get in, you drive around, like actually drive around with it, and it could be that there's the Harpy just jumping in front of you. You have to get out and battle it or something for some reason. Harpy is also the one that gives you, or that you can learn a Qualung from, and I hope this is still there, because I love a Qualung. That's a cool spell. What also lends itself extremely well for a real boss is the Flower Prong, which is in the forest around Gongaga. And since Gongaga should have more importance now, since Zack is not just a side character within hidden scenes, but integrated into the story, there should be something there. So there are two candidates. One is Flower Prong. It already has 3 phases, even in the original. It just sticks out like a sprout or something. and then a bigger flower blooms. This is the second phase, and then if you hit it more, then it unfolds completely, like it completely blossoms, and it's this huge flower monster. So this is already kind of it fits into a 3-phase boss battle. And in the Gongaga reactor, the heavy tank could be a boss there too. Maybe even a mini boss, but I'd love this to be like an actual boss. Since everything will be expanded upon, I can see this this short segment with the reactor in Gongaga to be a bit bigger, because Scarlet's there trying to get the huge materia, but it's all busted and the materia is unusable. We get Titan. So yeah, that's my thought process there. In the Shinra Mansion basement, Yin Yang, I need this boss so bad because this is so creepy and really creepy. Maybe even just after Vincent wakes up, we have this chat with him. He joins our party, and then the Yin Yang comes out.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And this is the first time we can actually use Vincent, and the Vincent tutorial starts, and how his limit break works, and yeah. I hope, at least. You put the Adamantium also before. For me, it needs to be an actual boss there. Some Wutai related boss, maybe some additional scenario like we talked about last time. We land in this port town of sorts, and there's some commotion stuff, and Adamantium comes in and wants to wreck the place, or I don't know. It sounds generic, but it's the only thing I can come up with right now. Or just a side quest enemy, or even an optional super boss, like in Final Fantasy XV was that the Adamantis was also an optional super boss. Near Bone Village, we have the Vlacorados. I found this enemy really strange because I think it had only 1 or even just 2 attacks, didn't do much damage at all, but had a huge HP pool, like 65,535. It just took ages and ages to kill, and it did barely any damage. It was so weird. So this could be integrated into the story there, in terms of the Bone Village, and Vlacorados is the boss in this segment there. I mentioned this before, Stilva in Gaia's Cliff, in the caves. Could be like the Materia Keeper, a boss in there. Or the Blue Dragon. Although in hindsight, since the Schizo is there, I think both are other candidates for mini bosses. Oh yeah, right. I put Gigas as a full boss. Like before we actually enter the Whirlwind Maze, it's possible that Gigas is maybe the boss at the tip, or at the peak of Gaia's Cliff. Although Schizo is right before, so I don't know. It's hard to predict. And I also found the Griffin. It could be a boss somewhere, I don't know. I think there are 2 versions of a Griffin type enemy around. It also has boss material because it's airborne and grounded, both. So it also lends itself to like go through different phases. Yeah, I think that's about it for my suggestions for mini bosses and full bosses.
There's so many enemies in
this
game, and I just see them. I think that a lot of these are like do have potential to be bosses in Battle Arena.
That too, yeah.
Or
true.
if we see the Pagoda thing happening that we talked about before, even like how they had the VR missions in Remake Part 1, something like that, where they could save these
True.
for, or even like end game content. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Optional bosses, super bosses and stuff.
So it could be optional bosses, but they don't have to be just like in a battle arena. It could be you have to revisit these areas that are like locked or blocked off, whatever, and then you gain access to them after you're done, and then you have to go, and there's still more story content that's left after you're done the game, so you can go back to the different areas and maybe help people that live in the villages by clearing out the bosses, and they give you rewards or something. I'm just trying to think for like end game content that isn't just VR missions, like, which is what we got in part 1.
Yeah, it was a bit lackluster, to be frank.
But yeah, so we're moving on to speculations for all new boss battles in part 2. So just really quickly, I'm just going to read mine off. So I'm thinking that we might get, I know that I think it was Nomura that said that there were Crisis Core characters that they were thinking about adding to the game, or they wanted to add to the game to flesh out the story more. I'm not sure, but I see potentially new Crisis Core characters or other characters that are in the compilation games coming into the remake, the next parts of the remake, and some of them could be enemies, you know, some of them could end up being boss battles, like humanoid boss battles, not just creatures and enemies. And then I got to thinking, okay, so what about like Wutai members who like even live there, like war apologists, maybe a new character whose parent died in the war and has grown resentment towards Soldier and Shinra, and like, you know, catches them off guard and challenges them to a battle, or somebody vacationing in Wutai from Midgar that learns that they are Avalanche and fights with them due to the propaganda being spewed out in the remake part 1 by Shinra, saying that Avalanche are being funded by Wutai. Some kind of conflict that would connect those things that were given to it, like those story elements that were given to us in part 1, to kind of connect it, so
I can see that, yeah.
Doesn't feel like it's just gone. And I don't mean like huge boss battles, but I just mean like it could be just a group of people, you know, when we're in the train tracks in part 1, right? When we're seeing the there's humanoid enemies there because they live in ruins of the, do you know what I'm talking about in part 1? It's the guys that have the masks that steal
that train track. Yeah, the bandits. Yeah, true. The Beck's badasses, yeah.
Yeah, so something like that, but not like badasses.
Yeah.
They could be, I'm not sure. I was just trying to really think about like legitimate things that I thought of that could potentially end up being in like part 2. And I know that in the beginning of part 1, well, close to it, when you get to the slums, there's this kind of group of people that do challenge you, remember, don't they? Because it's something to do with Johnny. I forget, I have to replay this game again.
Oh, no, that those are goons, Don Cornelius goons who want to find Barrett, and Cloud just happens to be there, and he tells them that for a price he can tell them where Barrett is, and then they walk him to the Doom Rat area, and yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it could be even like Don Corneo pays off some group of people in Wutai and tries to get them murdered. Like
That's
do
payback,
his dirty work, right?
Exactly.
Which is what he's all about. He doesn't want to do it himself. But yeah. And I just looked at new boss battles that we got in Remake Part 1. So we got the Whispers, because that was never a thing before. So, and Roche. We didn't, he's a new character that was a boss battle that never existed, like, in the original. So, and obviously the final boss when we had, spoilers if you haven't finished the game yet, the ultimate Whisper
Harbinger, yeah.
Yeah, the Harbinger or Harbinger or whatever it is.
However you pronounce it,
Yeah. So we didn't really get that much, I guess. Like, I know that they changed they made Hell House into a
Yeah,
big
exactly. Big, yeah.
deal, which was just wasn't it a normal enemy?
Just a
Like, it
normal
wasn't
enemy, yeah.
really even a boss. So it could, I mean, it could be anything.
Mm.
It could be anything. They could just take a random normal enemy and just boom, turn it into a boss battle and give it story, and then
For
it makes
sure,
sense.
yeah.
Like, we don't know. And that's all I could really come up with.
Mm. I do have a few more ideas. For example, Elena in the Mithril Mines could be like a sort of semi-boss, kind of like the additional Reno battle. She's there and wants to challenge us because we roughed up Reno, wants to take revenge until she's stopped by the other two.
That makes sense.
Something like that. Maybe if they change up the encounter a little bit, maybe we meet her first alone, and then the other two come in after the fact or something.
Yeah.
Could be.
And it could make sense, like, she's new, right? So she's
Yeah.
like, I gotta prove
Yeah,
myself,
exactly.
you know, like, so it could tie into the story there.
Because otherwise we will only fight against her with the other two Turks in the tunnels during the Midgar raid. So it
Right.
would make sense to introduce her also with a battle. Kind of. And the next to get something in at the beach in Costa del Sol. Hojo's there, and maybe since Hojo is like much more present and being a real pain in the butt in the first game. So this might be that Cloud and the others actually want to attack him this time. So he just throws some Mako pill, whatever, and this huge monster appears or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And then we have to protect the tourists all over. And maybe Cloud, because they're there in their bathing suits and trunks and whatever. Cloud has to take an umbrella and battle the monsters or something, like Zack did in Crisis Core. Kind of like a throwback. Yeah, I would like that.
That would be awesome.
Because Tifa has her fists already, and Aerith can just conjure her staff, and Barrett has his gun arm at the ready as well. Red 13 too. But Yuffie not, but she's otherwise occupied otherwise with selling materia. Getting Gale. So this could work, actually. And Cloud is the only one who has to get a replacement for his weapon. What's next? All right, in the Coral Reactor, because we just run past it. This is a huge thing with a huge backstory. We just run past it. It could be that there's a new boss battle there. Maybe even the Bagnadrona I mentioned before, or something else. Then we have all right, optional marks, kind of like in Final Fantasy 15 or 12, where we can, in certain areas, there's, let's say, just for the sake of brevity, a blackboard where some monsters are here and over there that make ruckus, and anybody that's strong enough can take them on, and we can just battle those at our leisure, like optional, as we said before, optional boss battle, side quest stuff. And in the Sleeping Forest, which is pretty small, there's, I think, just 2 screens. One screen that keeps repeating if we don't have the Earth Harp, and if we have it, then not the Lunar Harp. The Earth Harp is something different. Then we get into the screen, we see Aerith and Cloud stream, and then we're through. Those 2 screens. And we all know how the sewers turned out. 2 screens, and now a whole chapter. The Great Terrain Graveyard, 2 screens. Now it's a whole chapter. So this could also be like maybe not its own chapter, but still a huge area with its own boss, and maybe Kuchiata will be a boss. Kind of.
That would be cool.
Yeah. And then we get its materia. And between the Forgotten City and the Icicle area, if you remember, we have to go through this weird cave where we have to climb this wall or through holes in the wall. It was kind of a weird design. This area could also lend itself to have its own boss battle for some reason. Or maybe not in there, but maybe outside in the snowfield before we then enter Icicle Inn. All right, we have another Elena encounter, but that's not really a battle in the Icicle Inn. Like if you're fast enough, you can dodge her, and she just falls over and rolls down the hill, which is pretty funny. This could still be a thing, kind of, unless they just change this into a full-blown battle. Could also work. So they don't really have to send her as a battle in the Mythril Mines, but have her battle here. Unless they end part 2 at Nibelheim, then it makes sense for Elena to be a boss battle in the Mythril Mines. Kind of. Okay, and maybe another boss in the Great Glacier besides Snow. Snow is optional, so maybe there's like this a snow golem or a huge snow monster, a Yeti, or what have you. Just something towards the end of this whole ordeal.
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Thing is, I'm not sure if they keep the mechanic of us becoming too cold, then collapsing and waking up in Holzhoff's cabin. If this is the case, jamming a boss in there doesn't really make any sense, because if we're too slow, we don't get to see the boss anyway, so maybe not. Yeah, that's about it.
It depends on how they want to do that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
We did talk about this, like, for example, if they had different outfits, maybe they have jackets or something.
I hope so.
You know, that keep them warm, and then they can stay out longer.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
In the colds, you know, but we don't know. It could be that they just get so cold they pass out and then they wake up and there's no boss battle.
Yeah, probably not. I really hope we get winter gear there and summer gear, or like bathing suits and stuff in Costa del Sol.
That would be awesome.
We already have the Shinra outfit and sailor suit Barret on the boat. And maybe...
Yeah, I would love that.
Maybe Wutai gear. Maybe there's an additional scenario where we can attend a local festivities there, and everyone has their... how's it called? The kimono? Or yugata, if it's at the evening. I'd love that. Like, just give us different costumes, please.
All right, guys. So just some Final Fantasy VII Remake news. I guess we got the Ultimania, or Material Ultimania, that came out. I know that Ata Kimochi is been amazing. She's been translating the Ultimania online on Twitter, and I've been reading a lot of the posts that she's been posting, and some people obviously have been, like, there's been an outcry about the explanation, I guess, as to the ending of the game with everything that happened with Zack and that scene. So we didn't really get a chance to kind of dive into that for this episode, but I was hoping that we could potentially talk about it on our next episode, or maybe an episode after that.
We'll see, yeah, sure.
And also, Final Fantasy 16, their website went up. I did get a second to check it out. I think the concept art is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
They did give a little bit of background of a few of the main characters, which seems super interesting. I did read it. I liked what I read. And then it shows the different sigils, I guess, for each of the different kingdoms that are on the continent. So I was reading a little bit about that, but I didn't really go into too much detail when I was reading about those because I was doing other stuff, so I haven't had a chance to really dig in there. But
yeah, this the information on this website clears up a lot for me because I had so many questions and stuff from the trailer didn't really make sense, and it's hard to tell what actually was going on, who was who.
Yeah, but what we talked about is actually what's happening, though, about the summons that we talked about that, and we had thought that like so they bestow their power on somebody or they're born with it.
It's just more detail.
They're forced into battle for the military, right?
Some are revered as protectors.
Exactly.
Some are exiled and killed, and it's it's very interesting. So it helps a lot for my upcoming analysis, which will hopefully come out sometime after the Aerith analysis is done. I still need to finish the script. But I'm glad I waited.
One thing at a time.
I'm glad I waited because now I have a bit more information. It makes much more sense, and I hopefully can condense a few parts a little bit. So I'm looking forward to finishing this.
Well, guys, that concludes our episode for today. We hope that you enjoyed our discussion on the boss battles of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. If you have any questions or ideas for topics that we can cover in our up-and-coming episodes, do not hesitate to send us an email at thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. That's thereunionpodcast@gmail.com. You can also write our Twitter. Our Twitter account is @reunion_podcast. We do have a Facebook page as well. It's just reunion_podcast. And we do have a Discord server as well for the podcast, and the link for the server is actually written in the description of every episode. So all you have to do is click on that. It'll automatically ask you to be added to our Discord server. Yeah, we do have a YouTube channel as well. It's the Reunion Podcast, and we do post the podcast episodes to our YouTube channel as well. And we do have an Instagram account. It's the Reunion Podcast. And Vyzz, did you want to drop your socials for Cosmo Canon Observatory?
Oh, for sure. So the main channel is, of course, on YouTube. It's Cosmo Canon Observatory, easily found. On Twitter, it's @cc_observatory, where we post semi-regularly. Before it was daily, now it's has flattened out a bit. But I still try to post mostly like small analyses, retweet a few stuff. And we also have a Discord server. It's also called Cosmo Canon Observatory. The link for that is in every description of each YouTube video, so it's easy to find.
Perfect. And don't forget to like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, write us a review. It is the best way to support us here on the podcast, and it really helps us the most. So thank you guys so much for continuing to listen to us here on the podcast. And I wish you guys all the best. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.